TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. The Islamist Hamas has not yet provided a response to President Donald Trump's ceasefire proposal. Germany's Domestic Intelligence Service BFV arrests 3 Hamas members who've been preparing to mount a terror attack on German soil. The Israeli Navy intercepts the far-left and Islamist flotilla, which sought to break Israel's blockade on the Gaza Strip. Israel will abide by U.S. President Donald Trump's proposed plan for the Gaza Strip. However, if Hamas fails to accept the deal, Israel will push until it completes its declared mission vis-à-vis the Islamist Hamas in particular and the Palestinian enclave at large.
I have just returned from the U.S. on behalf of the government and the citizens of Israel. At the UN, I presented the truth of the state of Israel, its citizens, and its soldiers. In Washington, I reached agreement with President Trump on a framework for the release of all of our hostages and the achievement of all of the war objectives that we determined. I will present a more detailed report to the members of both the government and the Security Cabinet.
While Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu relayed to his cabinet ministers a long list of issues that were agreed upon with U.S. President Donald Trump, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Dani Danon, during an event commemorating October 7th, highlighted Jerusalem's unwavering commitment to return all of the hostages from Hamas captivity.
If they reject the plan, Israel will finish the job, either the easy way or the hard way. Their return cannot wait. This is not only a roadmap to bring them back, it is also a plan to end the tyranny of terror that was unleashed on October 7th.
The Islamist Hamas has not yet responded to President Trump's plan, with conflicted reports circulating on the terror group's intentions. According to Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesman Majid al-Ansari, however, Hamas had promised to study the deal, while additional meetings were expected to be held with Turkey to try and convince the Palestinian terror group to accept the American plan.
The negotiating delegation promised to study it responsibly, which is what is happening now. Even today, there will be another meeting with the Turkish side, also with the negotiating delegation, with the aim of consulting on this plan and to push towards, as we said, an end to this war through this plan.
Meanwhile, in Washington, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt asserted that President Donald Trump expects the Palestinian terror group to respond shortly.
So the president made it very clear he wants to hear back from them very soon. I will leave it to the president or the Secretary of State to speak on that, but we expect and we hope that Hamas will accept the plan that was proposed by Special Envoy Witkoff. It's a good plan, and as you know, it's been applauded by leaders all over the world.
Turning to the United Kingdom, where a 35-year-old Syrian man, Jihad al-Shami, who was granted UK citizenship as early as 2006, murdered 2 British Jewish worshippers on the Day of Atonement, or Yom Kippur, deliberately ramming his vehicle into Jewish pedestrians standing next to a synagogue before disembarking from his car with a knife in hand and managing to stab a security guard before Greater Manchester Police opened fire and eliminated the terrorist.
I am horrified by the anti-Semitic terrorist attack at a synagogue on the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. My prayers are with the victims and the families of all of those who are murdered here today. I want to thank the police and all of the emergency services for the speed of their response and also for their considerable bravery. The government has stepped up security at synagogues across the whole of the country, and we will do whatever is required to keep our Jewish community safe. I know that there are many questions that are still to be answered, and rest assured they will be answered as quickly as possible. It will just take a little time for us to establish exactly what has happened here, but we will share more information as soon as we are able to. What I do want to say is, to those who seek to divide us, they will fail.
In addition to the heinous murder of 2 British members of the Jewish community, 3 others sustained injuries. It is important to know that the attack on Britain's Jewish community was not the only attempt by Islamist terrorists, with several plots foiled across Europe and other continents, one of which was reported on in Germany.
Ja, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, heute ist es gelungen, eine terroristische Bedrohungslage.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have succeeded in averting a terrorist threat. Terrorists affiliated with Hamas had been making detailed plans to carry out attacks in Germany. They had been under surveillance by the authorities for some time, several months in fact. A few months ago, a known terrorist suspect with links to Hamas entered Germany. Since then, this person has been under surveillance and has attempted to obtain weapons and ammunition to carry out an attack. Today, weapons and ammunition were also seized. We believe that this threat was real. We believe that the actions were carried out in time to arrest these individuals.
Die Handlungen vorgeführt worden sind, diese Personen festzusetzen.
Israel's Mossad Intelligence Agency relayed its appreciation to Germany's Domestic Intelligence Service BFV for their close cooperation, which led to the ultimate arrest of the 3 Hamas terror operatives on German soil. This operation is added to additional collaborative efforts by Mossad with European intelligence agencies, to include in Austria. Turning to the eastern Mediterranean, where 42 vessels manned by over 400 far-left and Islamist activists who sought to break Israel's legal blockade on the terror-plagued Gaza Strip were intercepted by the Israeli Navy after they had rejected both Italian-led negotiations and repeated calls by Israel to transfer humanitarian aid on board through established channels into the Palestinian enclave.
This is the Israeli Navy. You are approaching a blockaded zone. If you wish to deliver aid to Gaza, you may do so through the established channels. Please change your course toward the port of Ashdod, where the aid will undergo a security inspection and then be transferred into the Gaza Strip.
The dozens of vessels failed to heed the calls by the Israeli Navy, which triggered a large-scale naval operation, during the course of which 42 out of 43 vessels were intercepted, while 1 vessel altered course to Cyprus. Meanwhile, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, while the Israeli naval operation was still underway, voiced frustration with the far-left activists who seemingly sought media attention rather than granting the Palestinians genuine humanitarian relief.
As you know, the boarding operations are still ongoing. We are obviously following them minute by minute. Last night, the Foreign Ministry's crisis unit was also in contact with the lawyers of some of those on board. And of course, we will do everything we can to ensure that these people can return to Italy as soon as possible. That said, I still believe that none of this is of any benefit to the Palestinian people. On the contrary, I understand that it will cause many inconveniences to the Italian people, the same Italian people who only yesterday were being thanked by the Palestinians, Hamas, for the work they are doing.
Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan who instructed Turkish naval vessels to accompany the far-left and Islamist flotilla for his part, sought to reassure his party followers that Ankara would not allow any harm to befall its people on board the vessels.
Our related units are following the developments in the field by the second and are taking necessary measures to not allow a single hair of the activists and our citizens to be harmed.
Spain's Prime Minister, who also sent a naval vessel to accompany the flotilla, urged Israel that all Spaniards on board the intercepted vessels would be granted full diplomatic protection.
From the very first minute, what I have always conveyed to the government of Israel is that, naturally, our nationals, those compatriots who are in the flotilla, will have full diplomatic protection, as could not be otherwise. They do not represent a danger or a threat to Israel, and therefore I hope that Israel, in this case the Netanyahu government, will not represent any threat to this flotilla either.
Additional world leaders from Mexico to Brazil, Ireland to South Africa have also called on Israel to immediately extradite their nationals back home. The Israeli Foreign Ministry released a statement in response in which it stated, quote, "Procedures are underway to wrap up the Hamas Sumud provocation and to finalize the deportation of the participants in this sham. Already 4 Italian citizens have been deported. The rest are in the process of being deported. Israel is keen to end this procedure as quickly as possible." Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. To update you on next week's schedule, TV7 Israel will not air on Monday as we will celebrate in Israel the eve of the Feast of Tabernacles. The rest of next week, TV7 Israel will resume our regular broadcast schedule. And with that, I would like to encourage you, keep praying for all of the hostages in the Gaza Strip. Pray also for the Christians and Druze in southern Syria and Christian communities in Nigeria. And last but not least, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom v'Chag Sameach, and God willing, we will see you again on Tuesday. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.